Many a times, listeners, stories about success, they read like a straight highlight reel, like on Instagram or maybe some other social media channels that we usually come across. But this one doesn't. And that's the point, listeners. Today, on this episode of the BizBlend podcast with your host, Sana, that's me, we are exploring what happens um, when life tests your values in public, when integrity meets headlines, when ownership means cleaning up messes you didn't make, and when teamwork is less pep talk and more stand together. Now, my guest has lived the full spectrum in their listeners. From an FBI knock to stadium lights, from culture reveals after scandal to scaling joy in desert franchises. If leadership is who you become in chaos, then this conversation is about becoming again and again with integrity as the through line. So, listeners, let's pause the hustle for a beat and get real about values you can actually use at work, at home, and in that beautiful, messy middle. So, listeners, meet my incredible guest, Uri Geva. So, Yuri, welcome to the show, and it's really an honor to have you here with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here, share stories, and again, excited. You've got a wonderful podcast, and happy to share stories with your listeners.
Definitely, definitely. You're very interesting. Um, I think before everything to talk about, I think our listeners will be very curious to know, specifically when the FBI got involved early in your journey. So, which specific behavior, not belief, proved your integrity in that moment?
Well, it was and this was over 20 years ago, and feels like it was yesterday. But the FBI got involved. I'll give you the background of that story, and then how integrity and really the belief in doing the right thing mattered at that time. So I had a business that was building websites and doing some early digital marketing for sports teams. This is 2000 1, 2, something like that, maybe 2003. It's been a hot minute since then, and, at the time, I had brought on a business partner who sold me the world. It was gonna be amazing. He's gonna start a new company. They're gonna buy my company. We'll go public. We'll bring investors. It's gonna be amazing. However, we never signed any paperwork, and I broached the subject multiple times. Hey, should we get paperwork between the two entities? It ended up that that was my saving grace, as he obviously wasn't, and integrity wasn't a word that he is familiar with, and neither was honesty or many other things. And so he put on this whole show with the idea of taking over my business, and then he kicked me out. He literally called for a board of directors meeting and fired me from the business. However, at the time, I still had my company. He had his company. We had never merged. The paperwork never got done. So I still owned my own company in a sense. And in talking to lawyers and trying to understand, look, this is the company I started as soon as I got out of college. This was my baby. This was my dream. He can't take it away from me. What can we do? And how do we stay true to the customers that I brought on board, to the technology that I helped write the code for? And so we work through making sure that we are staying true to the facts and true to the truth. And on a long night, I literally remember driving up to Dallas where our servers were based. We were able to switch our servers around in a way that we protected our intellectual property. We protected
Mm-hmm.
our IP. So before you get to a URL, like you type in Yahoo or Google.com, there are servers behind it that have an IP address. That
Yeah.
address, we talked to our service providers and said, hey, our company, Infinity Technologies at the time, we signed the paperwork with you. So we own these IP addresses. This other company, for my former partner, they have new servers and they need to get new IP addresses, not our IP addresses. We have a dispute between ourselves. And so that was
Mm-hmm.
about a Friday night. We finished all the moving of the servers and dealing with all the IP addresses and everything else, making sure that we protected our technology, protected our clients. And the next morning, on Saturday morning, an FBI agent knocked on my door And my wife answered, and so we were like, "Wait a second, we'll meet you." We actually moved the meeting to my parents' house so that our attorney could join. The FBI
Mhm.
sits down. They're like, "Well, tell us what happened. You've been accused of stealing servers." And
Wow.
like, "Wait a second, we didn't steal anything. Here's what we did. Here's the contracts. Here's how it all transpired." They're like, "Okay, well, no problem. We'll meet at our office. The FBI offices here in Texas on Monday instead of on the weekend. Please bring your lawyer and some more paperwork, and we'll sort it out." And so, fast forward to that Monday, we meet, and they eventually tell me that, "Hey, the partner that you had, right, this new we have a few caseloads against him that we're investigating him for doing this to multiple companies that he comes in and tries to take over. So, if you'd like, you can subpoena all his records. But in the meantime, we have nothing against you. You're fine. You did everything by the book.
Okay.
We wish you all the luck." So it was a stressful time because FBI, just the words kind of freak you out, and even
Gotcha.
though you know you're doing the right thing, even though you're following it by the book, you still have to go prove it and hope that you followed all the steps and did everything right, and luckily we did.
Wow.
So, tied into that story, and we don't need to go further into that part of my
Yeah.
history, but I
Mm.
yeah, a fun phone call because it turned into a legal dispute between me and the former
Okay.
partner, and we went back and
Mhm.
forth. And then have a phone call from my attorney on a Friday afternoon. Again, I don't know how everything always happens on a Friday afternoon, right? I'm supposed to pick up my girlfriend, who is now my wife of 20 plus years, but I'm supposed to pick her up after an international flight. She was out of the country, and 27 hours later, I am supposed to pick her up on Saturday. And the attorney's like, "Hey, I need you to leave the state." I was like, "What?" "Yeah, if
Oh.
it good if you spent the weekend in Louisiana." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Just trust me. We're doing the right thing. We're following protocol. But it'd be nice if you spent the weekend in Louisiana," which is about 3 hours away of a drive. And I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
but I need to pick up my girlfriend, now wife." And so, the same battle with that partner. They turned a temporary restraining order to try to get control back of the servers. Again,
Mhm.
judges were in our favor. He couldn't get that, but on a Friday afternoon, if I got served, then they would have to pause everything. And so I drive to Houston. I stay on a friend's couch, and the next morning I get to the airport and I pick up my lovely bride, and I say, "Hey, honey, how was your flight?" She's like, "I can't wait to get home. It's been a long day." I was like, "Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
Wouldn't it be great to go to a casino?" She's like, "What are you talking about? I just want to go to bed." I was like, "Well, what about a show and all this fun? And we could go to Lake Charles." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" So I had a balloon, some roses, and I told her I'd tell her the rest of the story in the car. But we ended up spending the weekend in Louisiana at a casino, and I got her to catch up on the story. But we did win the court.
Mhm.
We got our business back, and we're able to build a wonderful digital agency that worked with the likes of World Poker Tour and the Tennessee Titans and the Dallas Cowboys and other big names and small names alike, and build a great business, and jumped into a different business partner that also was challenging, but for a different story.
Wow. Huh. Oh, what a story. I mean, turn of events. I mean, I think I have so many questions, but of course, one thing that I see here acting as, kind of the savior for you is integrity, because you have been doing everything right, and there couldn't be any leverage for maybe FBI or your partner, your former partner, to kind of pinpoint finger at you, because you did the right thing. But before that, maybe one quick question. So, um, I mean, this happened when you were quite young. You graduated after out of your college. Were you aware about all the compliances and necessary paperwork required? Everything around business, the legalities and everything. Or did you like preempt when you started this journey? Like, was there some kind of intuitive moment for you that this may not work out for you? So let me uh work out everything in advance. Let me just figure out everything. What should I do when things go completely awry? So
I
what
think
were
that
uh,
at the time, I'm getting close to my 50s now, but at the
mhm,
time, being a young entrepreneur, relying on really good professionals, and I think that that is still the case now at Cookie Dough Bliss, in our franchising system, that we rely on great professionals to help the legal experts that knew intellectual property, or now the legal experts that understand franchising, and so understanding that you have to build a team of professionals around you that can really support your cause, your core values, your integrity, to make sure that they do the things that you believe in, and that they help make sure that the contracts and the law is all followed to a T. And so I think at the time, I was very fortunate. I literally remember stopping at the side of the road when it all started and using a payphone. I know a lot of our listeners here won't even know what a payphone is, but you had to put
I know.
numbers in to make a phone call, and
Uncle.
looking up
Yeah.
in the yellow pages to find the right intellectual property attorney that could help us win this battle. And so
Uh-huh.
I not necessarily at the beginning of this relationship with that partner that I know that I needed those professionals, but as things kind of progressed into a spiral of chaos is when I realized,
Mhm.
okay, I need the best on our team. And in fact, in order to continue to win that first battle, was the addition of another law firm that specialized in litigation. So we had an intellectual property guy on our team, we had a litigation guys on our team. And again, even within the law, even within accounting, even within CPAs, there's people who are specializing and are great at one thing. And that's who you
Yep.
really want to have on your team to be able to win your goal, right? And at the end, the question is, what is your goal? And I think that's great lesson taken from there to a marriage, to relationship with children, to business partners, to client. What is the goal of a conversation or
Mhm.
relationship? And specifically there, the goal was to save my company. Was it the right financial goal? I don't know. At the time, probably not. I could have started a new company and probably done better. But it was the integrity of knowing that I started something that I wanted to make sure that I continued, that I took care of those clients all the way to the end. And that company still exists, and we still build websites. It's not my main focus these days, but that company launched me to all the other entrepreneurial journeys that I've had, some with crazy stories and more chaos. But without saving that company and really retaining those clients and doing the right thing with those right professionals, it probably doesn't end up where I am today with this wonderful franchise system that we're building.
That's really inspiring. Really inspiring. And I think you really, really shared a very crucial, takeaway, not only for the businesses, but I think for the future, the present generation of entrepreneurs as well. Because right now we are in the modern, super, advanced tech age, of almost everyone, every company, every other tech guru, or anyone would say that AI is coming, it has already come, it's taking our jobs. Business people or entrepreneurs would no longer rely on people or teams to work. They can use tech or automations. But I think you really highlighted the importance of humans, of people, and what kind of skills, experiences, um, energy that they bring to the table here. And I think
But
this is balance. Mhm.
yeah, and I think that one thing that would have probably shortened my distance, aka if someone is looking for a shortcut in entrepreneurship, I think
Mhm.
the key is mentorship and having
Yeah.
some people that have been there, done that, got the t-shirts to support you through chaos, through challenges, through starting, through ending, through whatever the phase of the entrepreneur journey is. Having that
Mhm.
mentor that has already been there and learning how to listen and get nuggets and takeaways is something I did not have in my 20s through my first few businesses. I was probably a lot more impatient and a lot more uh, just hungry to just go figure it out on my own. And I think having additional experiences, and even nowadays, as I talk to mentors and I talk to people who have been there, it is so helpful
Mhm.
to have that human element of people who have been through the same. Like, one of our advisors is the former CEO of Code Ninjas, right? He has ran
Oh,
a
wow.
system of over 200 franchise locations. Well, we're an emerging brand
Wow.
with only 27 locations, so I have a lot to learn from him, how he took it from point A to point B and continued to grow, or some of our other advisors. So we've built a team around realizing, and I wish going back 20 years ago, man, wouldn't that be great if I had that team of advisors
Exactly.
that has been there, done that. But you're young and you're hungry and you think you know everything until you don't.
True, true. Another golden point, another golden takeaway, listeners. And uh, before we move to talking about Cookie Dough Bliss and about the bomber scandal, one thing that you mentioned is the how you had to communicate and then tell the exact story to your wife, then girlfriend, and she has been like the pillar of strength. She has been there with you throughout this journey. Now you have a beautiful family of three kids, and I think I absolutely love that because especially for entrepreneurs and founders, apart from the company or the business or the startup, like it's your own baby, but then um because people say that it's a very lonely journey, that sometimes we kind of unintentionally ignore our family or our loved ones or ourselves. So if we can share, Yuri, that how exactly you have um, managed both the ends here, because it's kind of inevitable to get burned out, considering that you are creating an idea from the scratch, you're building everything, you are having a team in there, then the franchise system, and then you have to raise a family in there. How would you advise or suggest to entrepreneurs or the ones who are in future going to be to navigate?
So I think Sheryl Sandberg, the former executive and COO of Facebook Meta, um, she at one point mentioned, I don't know if it was an interview or in her book or in a podcast, she said that the most important career decision you make is who you marry. Um,
Mhm.
well, I don't know that I picked my bride based on that decision. Obviously, when you fall in love and you believe in a relationship as much as we have, you're very fortunate and you build on that. But it is important to have a partner that understands what the entrepreneurship journey looks like. There's really, really highs, there's really, really lows. It's a big roller coasters, and it's very tough to disconnect. The phone is almost never off, and having a partner that understands that dynamic of running a business, and knowing that that partner also has that true belief. I mean, when you are at your lows, that partner, and especially for me, my wife, is the rock. There's nothing like, if I stop believing in myself, she never does. She believes my abilities are well beyond what I could possibly believe my own abilities are. And it is important to have a partner that really builds you up. She's not like, I don't go to her every 5 minutes and go, oh, well, I lost a deal or this does, but she's there on those low moments, or on those really high moments, and believes in our goals and our missions as businesses that we've had. And she has her own career, which is wonderful. So she's not totally focused on my successes or my challenges. That's one piece, is having a great partner, but the other part that I have made it a massive priority for me is to be present for my children or for my wife. So coaching them in sports, coaching them in different activities, helping them out through school. I mean, before this interview, I ran and my daughter forgot her lunch. She had a sleepover somewhere. She forgot her lunch. And so I ran over and got her some sushi because I knew that's her favorite, and I got her some salmon avocado rolls. And I know she'll be
Oh, yeah.
glowing with happiness, even though she forgot her lunch.
Yeah.
And that was 20 minutes. It's not a lot of time, but it made a big difference, I'm sure, for her day. And so it's those little moments of making sure that you're fully present. I mean, I'll use another example. We were at a water park and we had some challenges with work. And so I was working and going on rides and going back to the laptop and going back on. And so but understanding that you can be totally present for 10 minutes on standing in line and then going down a ride with your kid. In that moment, they know that you're 100% with them and not distracted. Now, you do have to tell them, hey, I'm going to pause for a second. You go do some rides. I got to take care of some stuff for work. And so they understand that. But I think it's really vital to be present in those short moments. That short drive to school that you drop off a kid, not being on the phone while you're dropping them off, trying to not be on the phone during dinner and taking time to just do those. And then look, I sacrifice my sleep many times. I stay up super late or get up super early to get those extra hours that an entrepreneur sometimes needs because I take that gap. Like that 5:30 to 9 o'clock is really like that holy time. And sometimes it gets shrunk to 7 to 9, or sometimes it's 6 to 8. But I try to give those hours to family time, time with my wife, and then afterwards go back and make some massive moves and massive action on work.
Very heartwarming, Yuri. Very heartwarming. I think not only entrepreneurs, but every one of us, we can uh, seek some inspiration from here in terms of um, realizing that it's not those big or huge uh, acts of surprising or showing your love, but these small um, but very impactful moments of showing up, being present, or sometimes expressing gratitude. I think they really, really make a huge difference in there. So that's really heartwarming to know, Yuri. Well, thank you for sharing that. And yes, now move to let's move to you know post here bomber scandal. Like after that, how did you rebuild psychological safety with a staff who felt betrayed? Like without minimizing the effect of what had happened.
So the Grass Valley Bombers is a summer collegiate baseball team, kind of minor league baseball with fireworks on Friday nights and beer and margaritas for adults and bounce houses and kids activities and music and just a really fun summer place to take a family. And we unfortunately, again, I collected some really bad partners over the years until my current one, which I've been with for 18 years, my business partner now.
Mm.
But before him, I had some rough ones, and one of those was a scandal in a small town in Texas where the promotional team got videotaped by my allegedly by my former business partner. Now I believe
Oh.
the police was right and the team was right, and I don't believe my former partner at all. But he's long gone in the wind. But we made the news, and the one thing we did in order to, or I did at that time, and my team supported that was, hey, we're going to take this head on. We're going to come up front and say, hey, this happened. We don't approve of it. He's no longer involved with the team. We bought him out. We kicked him out. He's not involved in anything. We're going to work individually with the folks who were affected by this. And we tremendously apologize. And we're going to build forward. And we're going to host the All Star game and then move the conversation towards the positive of all the things that are coming up that we're going to do as an organization. And so it was painful. This was back in 2011. I had thought this was my final business partner, right? He went through and supported me with the first scandal with the FBI, and now here he is making the front page of the newspaper at the time and the local TV. And so it was tough, but I think that because I took it head on and because we immediately made phone calls to all of our major sponsors, to all of our season ticket holders, that we communicated to the media right away, that we took it head on and said, look, we're going to extreme own this. This is extreme ownership. We believe in it. It's one of our core values. And we own this. We didn't know he was doing it. One bad apple doesn't make us all bad. Immediately, as soon as we found out, we immediately ended any communication and relationship with this person. And we're going to go forward and build an amazing brand together. And I think that leadership of going and saying, hey, this sucks. This is not fun. This is not fair to you as a staff, but life isn't fair. So let's focus on the things we do control. We can control the narrative by telling the truth, by being upfront about it, by being humble and respectful to the situation and move
Mhm.
forward as best we could. And in fact, we only lost one partner that turned from a sponsor to a season ticket holder, which might have been a decision for their business anyways, nothing to do with this. And I think we lost the sponsor for the promotional team because we stopped having the promotional team. It was all female team that we said, hey, this is obviously something that we need to rebuild one day in the future. But right now, we're just gonna, uh, take care of the individuals and move forward. And so, I think again, understanding how to handle a PR crisis and using that core value of extreme ownership is something that have taken really and didn't even know it was a core value till later. I read this wonderful book called Extreme Ownership and said, wow, that is really me. I'm going to hone in and dive in even further into this core value of extreme ownership because with extreme ownership comes integrity, comes respect, comes honor, and comes loyalty, and all these other characters that come into this one term called extreme ownership. And that's where you take that and we build from one team. We ended up having three baseball teams and one soccer team throughout 2.5 states. I joke about a half state because we were on a border city, and we built a wonderful business that then evolved into another business and another business and now the cookie dough. And so it was painful. You got to fall sometimes, and you got to realize that you've got to have the right business partners. And again, from that challenge came a new business partnership that is really taking us to a whole new level and on all my entrepreneurship businesses.
Oh, wow. Wow. You should really write a book. Really. And I think someday we'll get to, see some kind of series like The Office.
Right.
Yes.
There's so much there, yeah, a lot of funny moments and a lot of other.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But I think a lot of lessons as well. And I think this is such a good way of, learning business lessons, like very commonly we read it through books or sessions or discussions. But I think this is the best way to learn through others' lived experiences. And, that's where exactly, as you very rightly mentioned, mentorship and connecting with like-minded people who have been there, done that. That is so useful that, kind of really, really accelerates the journey for any new entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship, and I think that's one of the reasons that we've gravitated towards building a franchise system like Cookie Dough
Mm,
Bliss, where we
mm,
are able to give people business in a box and give them the opportunity to jump in and be entrepreneurs and kind of have a soft landing as you start a new business or you have your first business, or it's a complementary business that you already have two or three other businesses and you want to expand your multi-unit franchises, or really, hi, I've never been an entrepreneur. I really want to do it. I don't want to quit my job. How do I do this? And so taking the lessons learned from over 20 years of being an entrepreneur, all the ups, all the downs, and trying to make sure that we simplify it is some of the reasons that I love Cookie Dough Bliss so much because we do take the complexities and try to make it easier on folks so that they don't have to collect a bunch of stories to make for a fun book or movie one day, but are really about their opportunity and their life being easier to get to that dream of entrepreneurship and success with it.
yeah, totally, totally. And before we wrap up, uh, because we have already talked about this, but What's like what's a team principle you use at home that most CEOs neglect at work? Like, and also in the reverse, like any business tool that you brought home that changed the way you navigate conflict.
I think back to that, what is the goal? I think that
Mm,
we forget that so often because we get heated in a moment of raising a child or even in an argument with a spouse. We forget what is the goal. And for me, with my spouse, my goal is to be 80 plus years old and hold hands with her just like my grandparents did, and
mm,
see our grandkids and reflect on a wonderful journey together and still have new moments. So when there is an argument that heats up, it's like, wait a second, what's the goal? Like, what is this about? This is so silly. We're not even going to remember this. Or as a parent, what is the goal? The goal is to build the child up and give them a great opportunity to become their own person. So am I grounding them for this? Is this really necessary? Let's think about what the goal is. And it's hard because you forget it. You forget that question in the heat of the moment, in the heat of battle. You forget what is the goal, right? Why are we doing this business? What is the goal? And so I think it's a simple question that I try to ask myself. And sometimes I have to remind myself at work, hey, this is a really good question. Come back to that. What's the goal of this conversation? I'm about to have a really intense conversation with a client. What's the goal? Or I'm about to have a really intense conversation with an employee. Well, is my goal to fire them? Is my goal for them to leave? Or is my goal to build them up so that they can be even a bigger player? Okay, knowing what the goal is can help navigate the conversation so that it is a better outcome because you know what the outcome that you're working towards. If you don't know what the outcome is, then sometimes conversations just happen to have conversations and nothing turns about from it, or something that you didn't want comes out of it. So I think it's a good lesson for both home and work, and something that is easily something that you can just remind yourself really quick in the middle of that moment. Oh, what's the goal? And then you kind of get to change the conversation and navigate it better.
Exactly, exactly. Course correction.
Yep.
Ah, super, super. Yuri, this was such an amazing, amazing conversation. Like personally for me, such a, I really feel like that, I'm also taking away a lot of lessons from here. So of course, if listeners, they would like to explore more about Cookie Dough Bliss as well as they would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. Email is best. I know text messaging people really like, but I struggle with that. I don't think Apple's made a good text messaging tool yet, but there's good email. So Uri, Uri at cookiedoughbliss.com. They can go to cookiedoughbliss.com if they want some good dessert for the soul, something that's uplifting on a bad day, or just a good extra smile. They can buy some cookie dough online at cookiedoughbliss.com, or learn about our franchise system and jump in. And obviously, we're looking to grow this thing to a few hundred units across the US and then worldwide. So, Uri at cookiedoughbliss.com, always happy to share stories. And I think that one of the things that I've learned the hard way is that, yes, you might feel like you're Superman and doing it by yourself, but it's about
Mhm.
having a team, and it's about being authentic and vulnerable, and not just, hey, here's all the amazing stories. Yeah, we sold $1 million. We did this. No, sometimes it's the vulnerable stories that are actually more impactful, because that's where the lessons come from for you, and hopefully for me and the listeners.
Exactly. Very well said, Yuri. Listeners, I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And definitely, I think it's the best time to check out Cookie Dough Bliss so you can enjoy those Halloween cookies and gingerbread cookies. Thank you so much, Yuri.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and to all the listeners, I believe today we have covered the messy bits, most highlight reels skip, like when partners fail you, when headlines test you, when values have to grow legs and walk. And what I'm taking with me is simple. Integrity is a behavior, ownership has boundaries, and teamwork is a daily practice, not a poster. So, thank you to everyone for tuning into this episode of BizBlend. And take what serves, share it with someone who needs the nudge. Subscribe to us because that keeps the wheels running at BizBlend. And we'll meet you right back here. Thank you.